Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And tomorrow afternoon, Chelsea head up to the Etihad for another game against Man City, this time in a third round of the FA Cup, having already lost in the same stage of the League Cup earlier in the season, then having also lost at Stamford Bridge 1-0 on Thursday night. The Blues in dire form at the moment. 1 win in 9 games could easily become 1 in 10. So, yeah, Graham Potter with a mounting list of things to sort out. 10 first-team players out injured as well. So it's going to be a tough ask for Chelsea. City, on the other hand, in much better form, chasing Arsenal down in the Premier League, progressed in the League Cup, hoping to progress in the FA Cup, and obviously still in the Champions League. But there's plenty to get stuck into tonight. I'm delighted to be joined by City fan MCFC Daps from Never a Foul. Mate, thanks so much for joining. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure,
you know what?
mate.
I was just thinking then when you were talking, right, and the fact we've played each other, obviously we played each other in the Carabao Cup just before the World Cup. Then we played each other Wednesday. Then we played each other again. Do you know the last time we played each other 3 times in close succession? Can you remember?
Champions League, FA Cup semi-final, and League.
We
won all of them. Yeah,
won all 3. Yeah. You won all 3. I'm just grinning, thinking how tables have turned. But do you know what? I always use that one. I was. Do you know Matisse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was on with Matisse yesterday. Show we do every. Well, the day keeps changing, but it's called Battle of the North, and it's got a United fan and a Liverpool fan, and then myself and Matisse hosts it. But Liverpool fan was talking about, Liverpool fan was going on about they're going to get top 4. And I was saying, isn't it mad you've gone from the quad to you're talking about maybe getting top 4? And then no one ever speaks on this. But, last year, you lot flipping Liverpool won 2 of the 4. They thought they were going to do the quad. They won 2 of them against you lot. And they're both in the cups and they're both on penalties, right? It's mad that you lot have had such a say in recent quads. So Liverpool were, I think, in the end, were 2 games away from doing the quad, right?
Yeah.
Not last season, the season before. If it wasn't for Chelsea, Manchester City would have done the quad.
Yeah,
we won the league. We won the league. We won the Carabao Cup. You beat us in the Champions League final, and you knocked us out of the FA Cup in the semi-final. No one ever speaks on it because we went on and won the league. So it's like we don't talk. But we were only literally, if it wasn't for Chelsea, we would have fucking won the quad, bruv.
Yeah, mate, it's mad. It's fine margins. Chelsea, City, Chelsea have played a big part in that. I think for us, this game on Sunday is really important for more than one reason. As I said, the form's terrible. And, there are obviously mitigating circumstances to it. And I do feel a little bit sorry for Graham Potter. But the reality of the whole situation is that football's results-based business. And, we have to start picking up points, picking up victories at somewhere. And Sunday would obviously be no better place to start, although it's going to be a very tricky task for us. Mate, in terms of City's season so far in general, what have your thoughts around it? Has it gone how you expected? Better, worse? I mean, how would you assess it so far?
Sorry, firstly, rest in peace, Vialli.
Yeah.
100%. It's been, look, it irritated me at the start of the season where every single show I did, everyone's saying, well, we already know who's winning the league. City are running away with it, right? And we'd be like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games into the league and everyone's still saying, City. And I'm like, have you looked at the league, right? Or are you just saying it to put this pressure on Pep so that if we don't win the league, it's like, oh my God, how has Pep not won the league? But then saying that, right, where we are in the league at the moment, I'm not mad at because it's very rare that City are top around January, to be fair. Well, maybe, in fact, no, let me change that. It's very rare that City are top 17, 18 games into the season. We usually come good the final third of the season, right? But what I would say is our performances, in particular at home, have been concerning. And it's been going on in my head, but it was only leaving the ground after the Everton game that I kind of looked at my mate and said, we got to be realistic. Before the World Cup, our last home game in the league was against was against Brentford, and Brentford beat us 3-1. Yeah. Before that, we played Fulham, and we got a last-minute goal. Before that, we played Brighton, which, yes, we won 3-1, but we were not good against Brighton. We were really bad against Brighton. So we've been... And it's trying to work out why. And I think it doesn't help. Walker being out has been a real big miss for us. I also think maybe Rico Lewis wasn't quite ready at that point. So we were playing Akanji and Stones, which are centre-backs as a right-back. And I think ultimately what's happened is, and we were just speaking offline about this, is Haaland has come in, and at the moment there's this narrative going around that although Haaland is scoring goals, Haaland has made Manchester City a worse team. Now, that is not true. You can't bring in a player that's scored 21 goals and say he's made a team a worse team. What's happened is that Pep has always focused on midfield dominance, always focused on ball retention. And now we're not playing the false nine. We're having to find another way to have an extra man in the middle of the pitch. And at the moment, that means we're kind of inverting our fullbacks. And yeah, it's not clicking. It's not fluid at the moment. I think it's similar to when Liverpool didn't win the league. The season when Liverpool didn't retain the league. Sorry, Liverpool rarely win the league, so that was a mental mistake. When Liverpool didn't retain the league, everyone focused on the Van Dijk injury. But I always said it's never just one thing. It's often there'll be dominoes effects, and one thing will lead to something else. And I think that's the kind of thing at the moment we're sitting. Now, listen, I'm not saying we're having the worst season ever. Like you said, we're still in the Carabao Cup, we're in the FA Cup, we're in the Champions League, which we qualified. I think one of the quickest teams to qualify this season. And we're only 5 points off Arsenal, but it's not smooth sailing at the moment. So that's why I think the result against you lot in midweek was so important. Not the performance. Performance wasn't great, but getting a 1-0 win away at home, and also for me, seeing our players celebrate the way they did, because I was a little bit worried, like, is there issues in the dressing room? So to see them celebrate kind of made me realise, there's no issues. Everyone needs to calm down. Look, you're probably sat here thinking, how is this guy going to talk about issues at City at the moment when we've fucking got no wing backs? We've got no wing backs.
They got nothing, mate. But yeah, look, I mean, I look at City and, fantastic on the eye, great team to watch. But as you said, a couple of indifferent results at home, referencing losing to Brentford, obviously the draw against Everton, who are in absolute freefall at the moment. And then, you mentioned, a last-minute penalty to get past the Fulham side, albeit are doing pretty well this season. But, it's not a team that you'd be expecting Man City to struggle against. Why do you think at the Etihad you're kind of struggling so much? Even last season, you were 2 goals down to Aston Villa before coming back on the last day. What do you think it is about the home form at the moment? It's not terrible, but these odd results do creep in.
I feel like at the moment what's happening is... We're usually taking the lead as well. That's the maddest thing. We're going 1 up. But we're struggling to hold on to leads. We're getting very complacent. We're getting agitated when we're not scoring. And I think we've really... one of the biggest issues... All right, there's been the fullback issue, but the other thing is, at the start of the season, we had Diaz, but no Laporte or Stones. Then... Now Diaz is out and we've got Stones in, but no Laporte or Diaz. And I do think the other thing is, defensively, because we're inverting Cancelo, or whoever is playing left back is inverting into midfield, it's kind of leaving us very open to the exact way you play against Manchester City. The exact way, the blueprint of playing against Manchester City, unless you are a team like Liverpool... last season, not this season, may I add. Although, to be fair, they did beat us. Unless you're a team that can really, really play aggressive football, pressing high, Arsenal might be able to do it this season. The best way to play against City is to defend resolutely, 10 men behind the ball, and hits on the counter. Now, if we're playing with all of our players pushed up in midfield, then we are open to be hit on the counter. And that's ultimately what's been happening. It's just you have to be good to hit something. You have to do it right. Everton, 1 chance, they scored it. Weldy. You wouldn't
Yeah, you
expect
can't
that
do
from a
about it. Yeah, you wouldn't. You
nothing
wouldn't.
we could do. I mean, there was stuff Edison couldn't do anything about it. Rodri could have done something about it. To be fair, maybe even Rico Lewis could have done something about it. They could have closed him down a lot quicker. But once the ball left his foot, there was nothing. Nothing was stopping that. Nothing. And even City's fan base, there's a tiny element on Twitter. They're not, for me, they're not real City fans.
Yeah.
That have this agenda against Edison. And I saw a couple of them tweet, I can tell you 10 goalkeepers in the Premier League that would have saved that. And it was like, you can't. You literally can't. Top bins.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to hold your hands up, and it's a great strike, and there's nothing you can do about it. I want to touch on a couple of City players actually that have come in for a criticism, but I actually think have done all right. Jack Grealish, obviously massive money signing last summer, didn't have the best first season, but you often see that with signings at City. It takes them a season to kind of settle in. I'm a huge fan of his. I actually think he's played really well this season. I know perhaps the numbers don't suggest that, but I think the problem with football these days is it's become so numbers orientated. Whilst numbers are important, people aren't looking at the kind of the bigger picture, like the old-fashioned eye test. And like what he brings to City is like, it's no one else in the team does what he does in terms of the way that he holds onto the ball, he draws people in, creates space for other people. He wins fouls. Like these are kind of things that people don't really take on. I mean, what are the City fans and your kind of view of Jack Grealish?
So we love him, right? Game going City fans 100% love him, right?
Yeah,
I can tell you now, we love him. But also there is that element, of course, in any fan base that you protect your own. So we love him even more. Same, I feel you lot were doing it with Werner a bit.
Yeah.
Where
we loved him.
What? You're like, no, because we're seeing the good in him. So we're going to defend him. And it's the same with Grealish. But what you just said there, see, here's my theory on Grealish is what you just described there. And when we played you in the Carabao Cup, he played a lot more centrally. And I think for me, Grealish should be playing in a advanced 8 or maybe a 10 role. Because of exactly that, his ball retention, his carrying of the ball, his drawing of fouls, all of that is what, if you are in the 8 or 10 role, it don't matter if you ain't getting too many assists, right? That is what you're judged on. You're judged on your ball retention, your carrying of the ball, your progression, moving the ball up the pitch, winning fouls. Hazard, to be fair, was the best at winning fouls for you lot, right? And I think that's the issue with Grealish at the moment is when we've got other direct players like Foden, who's a lot more direct, it's like, I would rather see Foden on the wing and Grealish deeper. But you are right, what everyone says. And the whole thing is that what I really like is people being consistent, right, with their arguments. So one argument that I've got all season is that Manchester City is full of system players, right, that have to do what Pep says. If they don't do what Pep says, they get dragged, right? They get dragged, they get benched, they don't get started. And then, so I'm like, okay, no problem. Let's stay consistent with that argument. So, in Jack Grealish's defense, if Pep keeps starting him, is he not doing exactly what Pep wants?
Right? Well, exactly, yeah.
Which is ball retention, right? Now, so that would be my argument in defense of Jack Grealish. His ball retention is unbelievable. Up until the Everton game, we had not lost a game. I think we'd won every game he'd played in, right? But the Everton game, it got frustrating and this is a thing. When you've got when you've got Cancelo behind you, you can be Jack Grealish, who draws players out of position, has multiple players coming towards him. He can pop the ball back to Cancelo, who then has the delivery to put it in the box. When you've got Nathan Ake, and your game midweek was a very bizarre game because Ake actually looked good going forward.
He looked decent, yeah.
Yeah, going forward. But usually, he's better defensively than Cancelo. If you've got Grealish and then Ake behind him, there's no delivery. So that was frustrating, watching him get down the wing and then cut back inside and look for a simple pass to Rodri, Rico Lewis, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, De Bruyne. instead of looking for the killer pass to Haaland, that got a bit frustrating. But ultimately, he's just doing what the manager asked him to do. So, and the funniest thing is that all week, the whole City fan base was saying, we cannot see, well, the whole City Twitter fan base, let me say, were all saying, we cannot see Grealish and Mahrez in the same team, right? We can't see it. We can't see it. And then I was on DR doing a watch along.
Yeah.
And when they both came on, I said, ladies and gentlemen, every single City Twitter fan, right? You are now seeing exactly what you do not want. We are bringing on Grealish and Mahrez to play in wide positions. And what happens? Grealish gets the assist, Mahrez gets the goal. Pep looks like a genius. He went against... And now all the City lot are like, yeah, you know what? We just actually got to leave Pep to do what he's got to do. And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. We can't... Yeah. He is tinkering. He is trying to find a way to make it work with Haaland. But he's got credit in the people have... Liverpool right now, Salah has credit in the bank. Yeah. He's been that good that, you know what? He can have that credit in his bank. Again, when De Bruyne goes off form, it's fine. Credit in the bank. Pep has that credit in the bank that we can't turn on him. For me, we can't turn on these players that last season won us the league. We can't. If we do, we're turning into Arsenal fans, right? And I don't ever... I used to look at... When we were shit, I used to look at Arsenal fans. I've got a best mate who... I remember going to watch a game with him once. Arsenal lost. I was due to go around his house to have dinner with him and his wife on a Sunday. We drove all the way home from the pub, got to his house. He got out my car, walked in. So I just drove home. His missus messaged me saying, I presume you're not coming in for dinner. He just walked in and gone straight to bed. And at that point, this is when City still weren't that good, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I never want to be a fan like that, right?
No.
Because of where we've been, we're built different. I'm used to us being in the third tier of English football. And admittedly, after the Everton game, I was pissed off. Next morning, got up, went for a walk and thought, hold on a second. How can I be pissed off with all that this club and these players and this manager have done? It's not that bad. We're second in the fucking Premier League.
Mate, I'll take that right now.
We're playing Gillingham in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, just to round out on Grealish, do you think City are a better side when Grealish and Mahrez play? Because... they get that sort of genuine out-and-out width. I was at the game on Thursday. Foden played in one of those wide positions. I thought he had one of his quietest games. He didn't really influence the game at all. He wasn't good.
Dealt with him. Do you know what I think it is, mate? I don't think any team can be judged on any couple of players. It's balance, right? You could play. It's for me. It is Grealish and. Usually, and again, your game threw me massively because Grealish Ake usually doesn't work for me. But against you boys, it worked. But maybe that was, I don't know what it is, but for me, football's never as simple as looking at one or two players and going, those two can't play together, or the team is better with those two players. It's like a prime example is another one is Cancelo this season defensively has cost us a few games.
Yeah.
Because he was the last man, right? When Walker's fit, Cancelo is never the last man. Same thing with Trent. Trent has been bad this season for Liverpool, right? Do I think that's a Trent issue? No. I think that's a Klopp issue that his midfield is no longer covering for Trent. Now, Trent is never going to be Reece James, Kyle Walker defensively, right? He isn't, yeah? But going forward, he's better than both of them, right? So... you make sure your midfield has the cover to allow Trent to go forward. If your midfield's not covering Trent, that's not Trent's fault. That's your midfield's fault. So I think is always a bit... For me, like I said, I want to see Grealish in an 8-10 role. I don't want to see him on the wing, but we'll see. I hope to see him in that role against you lot tomorrow, but Pep is Pep. He'll do what he wants to do.
No, he will. One player I wanted to chat about a little bit is Raheem Sterling. Obviously, we signed him from your lot for £50-odd million in the summer. Surprising. I mean, I thought he did pretty well at City, but I think his deficiencies have always been there as far as I'm concerned. You know, the fact that he's not the best finisher. Even though he scored a lot of goals at City, you create so many chances. And when you're winning most games 3 or 4-0, when you get the sort of the third or fourth goal and you missed 2 or 3 chances in a game, no one talks about it. But at Chelsea, we don't create much. We don't score a lot of goals. So when you miss 1 or 2 chances, that's really highlighted, because that's the difference between us winning and us not winning. And I think his deficiencies in this Chelsea team have been massively exposed in terms of like his limitations are obvious in this Chelsea team, whereas they weren't quite as obvious in the City team because they were such a winning machine, and he would still chip in with a lot of goals just by sheer amount of chances that you created. I mean, he should still be in the prime of his career. He's 27 years of age. How was he viewed? How was his departure viewed at City? Were you like sad to see him go? Was there a surprise? And are you surprised at how bad he's been at Chelsea?
So we have to be very clear with Raheem Sterling. Without Raheem Sterling, we wouldn't have. I won't say we wouldn't have won our last 4 Premier Leagues, but he definitely contributed. He's one of our top 10 goal scorers of all time. However, he's also one of the most frustrating players to watch. Now, if De Bruyne was not on absolute flames against Wolves, third from last game last season, where I think De Bruyne scored 4. Raheem Sterling missed so many sitters in one of the most important games that if it wasn't for De Bruyne, honestly, Sterling would have held some serious corn, because the misses were just typical Raheem Sterling. That's his frustration. The whole thing, and there's this narrative with Raheem that, Raheem is brilliant running into space, through on goal. No, he fucking isn't. You give that man too much time. Watch Darwin Núñez this season. That is like watching Raheem Sterling. Yeah, when he's through on goal, his first thing in his head, I can live in his head. His first thought is, who can I pass to? Right. His second thought is actually, no, maybe I should shoot. Well, the minute you have more than one thought as a striker, you're fucked. Right.
Yeah.
Because if your first thought isn't, where am I putting this in the goal? You're doubting yourself. So then you're looking for the pass, right? But then you're thinking, oh no, as a striker, maybe I should shoot. So now your feet aren't sure if you're shooting or passing. Extra one with Raheem, there'd then be this narrative, I'm going to take it around the keeper as well, right? And then sometimes, honestly, what would end up is it wouldn't be a shot, wouldn't be a pass, it wouldn't be taking it round. It would just be a fall over the ball, right? What you need to do with Raheem Sterling is understand what he is good at. And I had this conversation with Chelsea fans all summer. Raheem Sterling, you got to rate his work rate. He works his ass off. He tracks back amazingly, right? He presses from the front. He listens, and this is a really, really good attribute to have as a footballer. He listens to his coach. He listens to his manager, right? That's why Pep changed him so much. Now, his reading of the game, his finding of space is top tier. That is, for me, Sterling's. Everyone will say, oh, he's quick. Yeah, he's quick. He's where I think we maybe miss him a little bit is he's not like explosive quick. He's quick in short, sharp.
Yeah.
Like little 1-2 burst into the. But his best attribute is finding space. But for him to find space, he has to have other runners around him. So if you can imagine him at his prime at Manchester City, firstly, the defense is watching Aguero, right? The defense are 2-man on Aguero, watching where Aguero's going. Then you've got Kyle Walker making bursting runs into the box. You've got Leroy Sane making bursting runs into the box. You've got Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, David Silva, right? All these different players for other people to be paying attention to, right? If everyone's making runs forward, often Raheem Sterling would just take 1 yard back. Someone would find him with a cutback, simple tap in. That is what he's good at. It's not running into space, it's finding space. He's so good at it. And I think if you had a full strength team, Chilwell, Reece James, even Aubameyang could work with him, right?
Aubameyang's terrible.
I hear you.
Yeah. It could.
It could work. Pulisic, it could work. But you have to get all of that right to get the best out of him. He's not the player that he was at Liverpool when he was 18 years old and he was
No.
just literally a pace merchant. He's not that player anymore. I do feel sorry for him a little bit because I think he'd scored in the last 2 games, hadn't he? Before.
Yeah, no, but he started the season under Thomas Tuchel. He started the season pretty well.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's our top scorer this season, but we don't score any goals. He's got 3 league goals this season.
Is that all he's got? 3?
Yeah, he's got 3 in the
I
league.
thought he had more than that. But
3 in the league. He's our
when,
top scorer, which is a bit embarrassing, really.
that is bad. But don't you think when he went down the other day, right?
Well, first 2 minutes, wasn't it? He was done.
Yeah, and I mean, my mate said to me that he thinks he just didn't want it. He just didn't want to be on the pitch, right? Now, for us, Raheem was never good against Liverpool, right? It's one of these...
Never scored, did he?
Playing your old teams,
No.
he's never... But for me, it looked more like... Because when he went down, there was no pain. He was just sat... He knew in his head, right? He knew something's gone... I think he might have had a little bit of a kind of a warning before the game. I don't know if maybe in training he felt something and then thought, no, I'll be fine. And then 2 minutes in, it's pulled up and he's...
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible.
It was how quickly he seemed to know I'm fucked. It was like instantly, yeah, I felt that. So, but that's the thing. But the strange thing is with you, like so obviously you lost your 2... You're without fullbacks. You lost your 2 wingers.
Yeah.
But there could be a question amongst maybe Chelsea fans that are our players really playing for Potter at the moment, right?
I just don't know if they're good enough at like kind of full stop. There's that. I mean, there's a lot of questions. Obviously, when you've gone from Thomas Tuchel, who is an elite, world-class winning coach, and when you go to someone like Potter, who is not proven at the top level, but has admittedly carved a very successful path for himself to get to the top.
Yeah.
Maybe as a professional, he doesn't perhaps command the same respect as an elite manager coming in, or even Frank Lampard, who obviously he's not as good a manager as Graham Potter, but he commanded respect because of what he did as a player. So I don't know if the mentality within the players is like, do they trust this guy? Like,
but what I was going to say is that I felt, and I don't know. I mean, someone said to me, no, Jorginho just didn't come on because he needed a rest. But I was thinking, with all the injuries you've had and whatever else, Jorginho didn't even get brought on. A lot of young players got brought on. And it made me think, if you look at what Arteta had to do at Arsenal, he had to get rid of a lot of the old guard. He had to get rid of a lot of maybe players that maybe did doubt him a little bit. And you can see now, all the younger players that he's brought in, it's so important to have players that listen to their manager. And the young players that came on for you, they look like they were playing for Graham Potter.
They did really well, because they're young and they're hungry and they want to be at this club and they're motivated. Where I think at the moment we've got too many players that, 1, aren't good enough, 2, don't want to be at this club, and 3, don't really have the motivation to perform to a top level. So when you combine all those 3 things together, that's
a hard thing for you lot at the moment with some of the older players. Again, is that there's a fair few of them. You will say right. So firstly, the World Cup's over, and no one is playing for a position in an international team at the moment.
No,
right. Secondly, no one is. You've got a few maybe older players that you could say their last international tournament is probably out the way now as well, right? Your league position, and most of these senior players I'm talking about, by the way, maybe they want to compete at a serious level, right? So now they're looking, we're 10th in the league, right? What are we playing for? Now, the difference is that when it gets to February and you play in the Champions League, they'll want to play, because it's the Champions League, right? And I said this to someone yesterday because they were ruling out anything in the Champions League. And I said, listen.
No, don't rule it out.
100% listen. If you are a team, let alone the fact a team that's won it twice in the last 15 years, is it?
Yeah, 2012 and obviously, Porto as well.
So twice in the last 12 years, right? Yeah. 10 years.
Yeah, twice in the last 10 years, yeah.
Twice, right. So you've won the Champions League twice in the last 10 years. If you get into the last 16, which you have, you should not rule out anything. I've seen Liverpool win the Champions League when they didn't have a great league run. I've seen Chelsea do it twice, right?
Yeah, twice.
So you cannot rule out a run in the Champions League. It might sound crazy looking at where you are in the league right now, but that is the one tournament. If I'm Chelsea, I'm looking at it going, no, why couldn't we?
Yeah, because league form doesn't account for anything like when you go Champions League. It's a completely separate tournament. And obviously, and for the last few years, or for a number of years now, we've been a cup side. The consistency is not there in the league, but we've done a lot better in the cups. Obviously, both domestic cup finals.
If history repeats itself, you've even gone and brought in a new manager, right, that has no experience really of winning anything in Europe. Yeah. Well, the last time she won the Champions League, it was very similar. So if I'm a Chelsea fan right now, and if I'm one of these more experienced Chelsea players that maybe is coming towards the end of their career, I'm already looking at the Champions League going, this is what I want. This is where you're going to see the best of me at the moment. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, look, when you look, because I always find it interesting to get kind of opposing fans' thoughts on teams and like from outside of the kind of your own bubble. What are your thoughts on what's going on at Chelsea this season? I mean, what are your thoughts firstly on Graham Potter being given the job in the first place?
Right. So I get it. My one thing, if I was to talk on Chelsea, I would say that in the last 15 years, you've won everything, right?
Yeah.
You've been spoilt to fuck. You have won everything, right? The one thing, in my humble opinion, is that generally, no matter what manager is brought in, there is still this kind of label around your club that is boring football.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So if I am and listen, let me that's boring is always harsh. Let me call it effective football, right? Might be a bit boring. I went to watch you play Villa last year, right, at the Bridge. You won 3-1, I think.
Oh, is that when Lukaku scored twice?
Yeah,
that was near the start of the season.
Weldy of a pass by Kovacic, where he turned two players and you looked really bad that game, but you won 3-1. So do you know what? That's a win, right?
Yeah.
But if I am a business owner and my product is hitting ceiling, right? As far as for the type of football we play, we're winning everything. So our ceiling, branding wise, is hit. The only way for us to change our ceiling and maybe take the brand to another level is to address the type of football we're seeing. So I feel like that's what Todd Boehly is trying to do. He's thought, do you know what? I've got this team. This team is very successful, but to make this brand bigger, we need to improve our quality of football. Now, I think slightly maybe that's what City have done with Pep, because before Pep, we'd won a couple of leagues, we won a couple of cups, we hadn't had any sort of dominance yet, and I would still say we didn't have an identity for the style of football we had. I feel like what Pep has done is he came in and brought a dominance and a style of football that, importantly for the academy as well, is imprinted on the academy. Rico Lewis, you see it. Rico Lewis is only just turned 18, so he's a young man. But to the system, he's an old man because he's been playing it for 10 years, right? So, I feel like with that's what Todd's doing now. I don't know if he just thought everyone in football gets 5-year contracts because players get 5-year contracts.
There's been some long contracts going out, like 6-7 year contracts.
Yeah,
it's more than
one thing. Yeah, but managers.
A 5-year deal for a manager is mad.
And I don't know if that was. I think it was an element of him, an element of probably Graham Potter thinking, do you know what? If you really want me, I know how Chelsea go through managers, so I'm going to protect myself and say, no problem, give me a long-ass contract, right? I actually think, surprisingly, Graham Potter did quite well in Europe, considering he hadn't really ever played in Europe.
We had 1 point from our first 2 games, and we had to beat Milan twice, basically, to qualify. And we won those 3 games. We won the games, and we finished top of the group. So in Champions League, he's done very well. But
so no one can say he's. It's just what I would and this is what I've been saying the last couple of days when I've been speaking on Chelsea. Is I feel like what you guys need to see to get behind Graham Potter is, and let me be clear, Arsenal fans, very few of them saw it, but as a neutral,
It's the same phase Chelsea are going through with Potter as Arsenal are going through with Arteta, because so many people wanted Arteta out early on.
Listen,
like they were
I have
hating
this
him.
thing where Arsenal fans are telling me I need to put some more respect on Arteta, and I'm like, no, I fucking don't, because you go back,
but they wanted him out.
You go back and you see anything from the first day he arrived at your club. I've been telling your fan base, I know what he's doing. His first interview, he said everything at the club is wrong. Everyone's pulling in wrong directions. There's some bad eggs here. We need to get rid of them. And that's what he's done. He's gone and got rid of all of your bad eggs that ultimately represented the worst period of Arsenal Football Club for a long, long time. He's got rid of them. He's brought in players that are listening to him, trusting his system. And now, look, so I don't need to put respect on him. I've been respecting him. Most of City's fan base knew what Arteta was about. Their fan base didn't. Now, we saw that from the beginning. With Potter, I just feel like this transfer window,
it's really important.
Somehow, it's not just important who your club buys. It's important that the fans are made aware that this is who Graham Potter wanted, right? And this is how they fit into Graham Potter's system. Because if not, and it just looks like Todd Bowley is getting who him and the club wants, you lot can't get behind Potter because you're still like, I don't know what Potter is about. I don't know what's he bringing us. Like,
I guess it's always the age-old question, isn't it? How involved is the manager with transfers? You know, obviously we got like a whole new recruitment team, a whole new
team.
kind of.
So
it's his team as well, and I think he does have a say in it. But like ultimately, if
he needs to let you guys know that, it needs to be that between him and Todd, they need to let your fan base know. Like, and maybe we know at City because luckily enough, there was an Amazon Prime documentary that fully documented our system, right? But it does make sense if you think about it. He's got his recruitment team there. Yeah. I also think even the Enzo Fernandez thing, I kind of was thinking, do you think Enzo Fernandez and Graham Potter will even have a conversation? But then if you think about it, Enzo Fernandez plays in midfield with McAllister. McAllister was
a Graham Potter player. Yeah, it did.
So there will have been Enzo will have spoke to McAllister and said, what is this man about? So there is a connection there. I just feel it needs to be for the sake of, to get the fans on the Graham Potter train, the board and him need to make it clear this is Graham's signings. These are like, however they do it. Because look, he is a good manager. We can't deny it. Right now, Brighton are still looking good because
of the foundations that he set there. Like the De Zerbi's come in and they're playing a similar way, and it's all the foundations that Potter laid. And you know, manager. Everywhere you look now as well, like everywhere you look, there was a Brighton player playing, or someone that used to play for Brighton, like in top teams. You only have to look at the World Cup, McAllister. You look everywhere.
I'd love
Trossard at City. And that's all from players that have been scouted and recruited with Graham Potter and his team. But these things take time, and you know, football fans got no patience. Well, a majority of them don't have patience. They want instant results and don't understand, you know, that it takes years it takes years to build a team. Like you're not going to inform. I hate it when people. I mean, I know it's Twitter and it's perhaps I don't want to be disrespectful, but by saying they're not proper fans. But like the difference for me between the match-going fans' opinions and the online fan base, as it were, is so different. I think that the match-going fans are a lot more supportive of Potter than perhaps the online than you get with the online presence. But ultimately, like, yes, should we be doing better? Yes, but with the reason we are where we are is because that's how good we are right now, and also we're missing 10 first-team players. It's not just 10 injuries. It's 10 injuries that would pretty much all start. All right, Mendy doesn't start, but they pretty much all start if they're fit, the players that are out. So to take 10 players out of that for any manager, that's a huge problem.
Even the Mendy one, if you think about the Mendy one, Kepa has got it in him to be complacent, right?
He has. He's done really well for us. And I think he's the established number one now, but he has had a mistake in him. But he's obviously improved.
Complacent. he won't be complacent if he knows he's got a fully fit Mendy ready to jump in if he makes
exactly.
a mistake. So
and this is the thing as well. Yeah, this is the thing as well. You look at it like with these injuries, there's certain players now that know they're going to play. So where's the onus for them to do well because they know they're going to play anyway? And that's what we've got to kind of remove is that the complacency. Build a squad where there's like 2 or 3 really good players in each position, because then if you know that you're not on it, you're not starting next week, and that drives players on to perform better. And at the moment, Chelsea are just carrying too many passengers. There's too many passengers there's too many players that aren't good enough. There's too many players that aren't giving it their all. And there's a lot of problems, and a few signings in January, which are much needed, is not going to sort it all out. I mean, I'm under no illusions. We're not going to be playing Champions League football next season unless we win it. We're 10 points. We're 10 points off the top 4 already, and like we're going to lose more games. We've got Fulham away on next Thursday. I can't see us winning that. We then got Palace at home, which we should be able to win that, and then we go to Anfield. So these are tough games. You can't really see where the points are coming from.
I think that's exactly why. Like I said, you lot really. The Champions League is massive, massive, massive for you. Huge for you.
I also think the FA Cup could be big as well. Even just going on a cup run, something to distract. The Champions League's bigger, of course.
It could get you Champions League football, and ultimately you win the Champions League again. Well, all of a sudden you ain't going to really care that much. If you win the Champions League this season, and so therefore in the Champions League next season, and have won the Champions League for a third time, do you know what? You'll say, okay, no problem. You just to say on what you said there about game going fans, it's a really, really difficult conversation, right? I started up a show on Never a Foul. People, please subscribe.
Guys, make sure you do.
Where it was called Through the Turnstiles, and I made sure that I was getting people on there that were game going fans. And I had 1 or 2 people saying to me, "Oh, so to be a real fan, do you have to be a game going fan?" And I said, "No, not at all. Listen, as a club that's growing at the moment, I appreciate we need global fans. I appreciate there will be young City fans that have decided to support Manchester City because as a 6-year-old, we're a successful team. I get it, right? That's why some people choose. Some people choose because of who their parents support. Some people choose because of where they live. Some people choose because, quite frankly, they like the football. Some people used to choose Liverpool because John Barnes was a Jamaican player and they were Jamaican, right? Everyone has their reasons to support a team, and everyone is more than entitled to support a team for that reason. But each person has a different experience. So game-going fans do have a different experience and a different opinion on... I mean, for example, if you go to games and you... and like where I sit in the South Stand, one half, we get to see Haaland's movement in the box sensationally. Second half, we get to see just how comfortable Ederson is with any pass back to him, right? It can be on his wrong foot, his right foot. It can bounce awkwardly. Defenders don't change their position because they're worried that Ederson is, oh shit, that bounce was a bit awkward. They know he'll deal with it, right? So we will be, no. We appreciate that side of Ederson's game. If you're not a game-going fan and you only see what the TV shows you, you don't see that. And also, game-going fans, you don't see the frustrations.
No, but this is also the thing when people judge games off highlights or performances from highlights. It's like you get like if you watch like highlights on YouTube or whatever, Sky Sports or whatever, you might get like 3 to 5 minutes of match highlights, and you get people judging players' performances. You get team performance judges.
It's gone on worse than that.
That's got worse, isn't it?
Jack Grealish earlier. It's worse than even. It used to be match of the day highlights where it would be maybe 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You can now go on Sky, I think, and watch your 2 minutes highlights.
Yeah, mate, literally, as soon as the game's done, 3-minute highlights done.
The best one now, the rival fans one is this. It's this simple, right? Rival fan, Man City game finishes. Let's take the Man United game, for example. Man City 6, Man United 3.
Yeah.
I jump on my phone, I go on an app as a rival fan, and I look, I don't see Jack Grealish got any goals or any assists. Jack Grealish was shit today, right? That's it. Literally,
he was good in that game as well.
Exactly. And that's what I had to say. When someone tried to come for me on a panel show, there was a United guy there. And I said, as a United fan, Jack Grealish didn't score or get any assists against you. Was he good? And they're like, he was possibly your best player on the pitch. I'm like, there you go. But in this day and age, it's like the whole TikTok thing and people and clips. They want 20-second clips to be able to give them a story. That's it. So,
yeah, mate, that sort of stuff sells, doesn't it? I mean, like moving more. Oh, actually, one more question before we move on to the game tomorrow. For City this season, I mean, obviously, is the Champions League more important than the Premier League for you guys? Like, I know it's obviously the one you want to win, and it's the missing piece of the jigsaw. But is that more important to the fan base than winning the league this season?
So I got asked this on DR the other day, and I kind of initially was like, no, the league is always the most important to me. It's the foundations as a City fan. And they were like, that can't be true, blah, blah, blah. And I was saying, listen, to old school City fans, we still care most about the league.
Yeah.
I then kind of said, actually, do you know what? Ask me again, right? And I said, yeah, fuck it. The Champions League, just to shut everyone up, to say we've won it now. The one caveat I would say is, you got to remember that what we're going for this season is the three-peat, right? Which no one's done except for Fergie, right?
Yeah.
I've now got United fans that generally hate Arsenal, really fucking hate Arsenal. They don't want Arsenal to win this league. But then when they've realised, shit, if City win this, they've done the three-peat, all of a sudden. So ideally, I want to do the three-peat and win the fucking Champions League in the same season. I want to do a quad, a three-peat, and the Champions League all in one season, just to say fuck you to everyone. Now leave us alone. Next season, I'll be happy to win the fucking league and the Carabao Cup, celebrate with my City fans, and everyone just leave us in our bubble, right? But it's the Champions League. We have to. We have been so domestically dominant for the last 5 years that it's insane. Like, I honestly
mad.
don't believe the only team that you could probably say has equaled it would be Man United. But even then, we did a double. Sorry,
what, 4 Carabaos in a row? There was
we've 100 points, then 98 points. We kind of won 2. We did a double, a treble. Didn't win the league, but still won the Carabao. Then did I think another double, and then did last season we did a single. We only won the league last season, didn't we? So we've won a lot of fucking trophies, right? But the fact is, this whole Manchester City era it's already been put up there as one of the best eras. We win a Champions League, all of a sudden it takes us to a whole different level.
Elevates
so
it big time.
All game-going City fans will say we care about the league the most. Look, there's 38 games in a league, right? That's 38 match-going experiences that can be a roller coaster. So, of course, we want to win the league. And also, we have to face, if you're real fans, we have to face Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Everton, Liverpool, Tottenham fans every single day of our life, in our real life, outside of the house when we're not looking at our phone, right? So we still want those bragging rights, yeah? We want to be able to go into work with a bit of chest. I'm not going to go into work and have a Real Madrid fan tell me, well, actually, I work for Santander, so I might do. But
you might do,
most people wouldn't. So
yeah.
But the Champions League. We need it. We need it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say City do need it for obviously the money spent, the quality of the squad, the manager you've got. Like,
the manager.
By no means is Pep a failure if he doesn't win the Champions League at Manchester
That's
City.
The one that gets me.
Absolutely not. But you would, when kind of comparing Pep with like the great managers and whatnot, you would say that right now he needs a Champions League because I say only, but the only Champions Leagues he's won is with that arguably best club side of all time, Barcelona, with Lionel Messi. Like, he didn't manage to win it with a dominant Bayern Munich side, and he's not managed to do it so far with City.
The Bayern one always, that always worried me when he joined us, because you have to remember the Bayern Munich side that he inherited won everything.
Yeah.
So, look, the Barca side, let's give credit to that Barca side. That Barca side that he took over, right, were not the Barca side that won the Champions League. He
No.
created that team. That was
Yeah.
all him, right? But look, we can all sit here and say how we're going to judge Pep. The whole world can sit here and say how they're going to judge Pep if he doesn't win a Champions League. I can tell you now, right? The person that is going to judge Pep the most harshly if he doesn't win a champion is himself. He's come out and said it when he signed the contract, his just recent extension. He said in his interview, there is unfinished business and I don't want to leave this club until that unfinished business is dealt with. And he's meaning the Champions League. We have to do it. Otherwise, look, you're spot on. He's not going to be a failure, but he's always, you know what? If Messi didn't win the World Cup, right? Would Messi have been considered a failure?
No, of course not.
A chance.
Like, it's one of them things that people would use against him, I suppose.
But more
it's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
There's a video I've seen recently of Messi kind of, and it's the whole Argentina team stood kind of there celebrating. And Messi's kind of just away from them by himself. And you can see he's just staring into space and just like, and it looks like the whole world has been lifted off his shoulders because he knew that if he didn't win the World Cup, in his own head, he's always going to be like,
could have done more.
That was a missed opportunity, man.
Yeah.
And I think with Pep, it's the same thing that he's at the moment. He thrives for when you see Pep go up to players on other teams and kind of at the end of a game and kind of talking to them, saying, why don't you play like that more often? The man loves football. The man loves trying to work out football puzzles, right? And this is the one puzzle that, he's sat there thinking, why can't I find that missing word? Why can I not find that?
Because it is mad, isn't it? Because like you look at the teams that you've gone out to over the years, when you go out to teams like Lyon, Monaco as well, even the final against us a couple of years ago, like going with no holding midfield player, which
playing Sterling when Sterling was in the shittest form of his life.
Yeah, I mean that's probably one criticism I would perhaps lay at Pep is he's got a tendency in the biggest of games to often overthink things and then do something they would never have normally have done. Just to try something different. I don't know if he doesn't trust himself or he double guesses himself or he wants to,
he does it in every game.
He does do it, doesn't he? He's constantly searching, yeah.
Cancelo on the right against you the other night is a prime example, right? I looked at the team lineup against you and was like, at last we're playing with two fullbacks. We've got Bernardo Silva wide right. At last we kind of, one of the best teams I've seen apart from Diaz and Laporte being injured. I was like, this is possibly the strongest City team we can put out there. Within 5 minutes, I'm seeing Cancelo's playing wide right, and I'm thinking, Pep, what? Yeah. But then when he brings on Grealish and Mahrez after the second half they had against Everton, I'm pulling what I have left of hair out. But then they go and score, and all of a sudden it's like, Pep, you fucking genius.
Right, I mean, it's one of them, isn't it? Let me just get to a few things in the chat and we'll quickly chat about the game to round out.
Yes,
Assad, I'd love us to beat City tomorrow, but I also wouldn't agree with a better team in both the games this season. League Cup, I thought we played all right, and I think we played pretty well in the first half. But yeah, I mean, I admire your confidence, mate, but I can't agree. We weren't the better team.
First half,
we weren't the better team. First half, we were better. First half,
definitely the better team. Carabao Cup, I don't agree.
Carabao Cup, no. I mean, we could have scored a couple of goals in that cup game. Lewis Hall had two very good chances.
He did.
I do agree that Hall and Chukwuemeka should both start.
That Chukwuemeka looked really fun.
He looks really good.
I tell you what, and
we've
not
kind
just
of talked about this one here.
Not just him hitting the post, but his kind of
He's just got his energy.
Do you see that cross though? That cross he's
got good. Do you know what? Like, he reminds me a little bit of someone we've already got in his earlier years, Loftus-Cheek. He in terms of the pace on the ball, the size, his power, his physicality. And there's a lot of potential there. And I thought he did really, really well. So he definitely deserves more minutes in the first team.
I think he'll start.
How do you think Potter's going to line up? Well, I mean, Nkunku's not playing. Nkunku's not coming until next season, so I presume you mean next season. I haven't really got any idea. Thuram is an interesting one. If he does come, we're looking at it. I thought he'd done well in the World Cup. He made a difference when he came off the bench a couple of times, but I don't know if it's the answer that Chelsea are looking for. I would like to get Mudryk. Yeah, I would like to get Mudryk, but at the same time, like, that can't be at the expense of not addressing the midfield or not addressing the right back. But let's move to tomorrow's game then to round things out. How important is the FA Cup for City this season? You said you want to win it all, but like, obviously we're always disappointed when we lose football matches. But would you be that bothered in the bigger picture if City were to lose tomorrow and go out the cup?
The only reason why I want us to win tomorrow is momentum. If I'm being completely honest, and
because you've got United coming up afterwards, don't you?
Well, we got Southampton first.
Yeah.
Got Southampton. Yeah, we've got. This is what I'm saying. We need this momentum. We've got Southampton, United, Tottenham. It's momentum. We need to win it just to continue that momentum. Now, what team we put out, I expect to see some changes, but Pep, it will still be a strong team. We don't really know what Pep's best 11 is at the moment. That's the whole thing. Like,
do you think Haaland plays tomorrow?
I think Haaland gets
Alvarez. Is Alvarez back?
I think Alvarez starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think Haaland gets rest. Going into the Tottenham. The only thing, maybe Haaland does start and gets a rest in the Carabao, but he's definitely gonna get rest in one of these two games. So I don't know which one it is. Haaland might say, "Listen, because I didn't bag against Chelsea at the Bridge."
He was quite quiet in that game Thursday night as well. It was one of his quieter games.
Than he was going forward.
Yeah, it was one of his quieter games.
Good, but and he didn't play against you in the Carabao Cup either.
No, he didn't.
We'll see. But I expect to see Alvarez on the pitch in some way, whether it be alongside Haaland or whether it be Haaland gets a rest. Because of the fact we've got Southampton midweek, then Man United, I might sway towards the fact of Haaland starting, Alvarez on the right, maybe.
Do they play? Have they played much together this season?
Earlier in the season, yeah. So what happens is usually, I think Alvarez scored 2 against Forest, and it started off with both of them there, and then Haaland went off in about the 65th, 70th, and then Alvarez moves into the middle. But I want to see, ideally, my ideal lineup would be, or forget defensively, but my ideal front 3 or front 5 would be Foden on the left, Haaland in the middle, Alvarez on the right, and De Bruyne and Grealish centrally behind.
Yeah, what with Rodri sitting?
With Rodri sitting.
Yeah.
That would be my preferred.
That's severe. That's such a good team, and you look to us, and I just think I think Kepa plays in goal. I think Silva will play as obviously Koulibaly might play as well. Lewis will probably play at left back instead of Cucurella maybe. Right back is going to have to be Azpilicueta, which is a big problem. And it was interesting that Grealish said afterwards that Pep had told him to go and target him because I think Azpi, as much of a club legend as he's been, he's the obvious weak link in that back line. Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the time with us, know when someone's legs are gone.
It's a problem. I think for me in midfield, I think Zakaria I thought was very good on Thursday night. Really good. He's not played many games for us, but that was his best game by a mile. I think he deserves, and momentum's really important in football. When you're playing well, you need to keep being picked.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
We haven't got a game until Thursday night away at Fulham, so there is plenty of time to kind of recover. After this game, I'll probably play Zakaria, Kovacic. The front three's the interesting one because we've got no Sterling, we've got no Pulisic. I don't know if Mount's going to be back from injury. Aubameyang's awful. Havertz is not cutting it.
Havertz has to start, I think, over the two.
I think he will. I mean, if Broja wasn't injured, Broja would probably play in this game. But we've got really limited options going forward. I mean, we could see Chukwuemeka play because he kind of played off one of those sides in the front 3 on Thursday night. Maybe he starts there again.
Starting. I can see Gallagher starting for you as well.
This is the thing, though. You look at it and you can see why Chelsea are struggling because when you compare sort of our rotational options to yours, it's just like it's different levels. You're looking
got
at the
10
game.
Injuries as well, bro.
Yeah, we have got 10 injuries, but like what I mean is in terms of like you look at it and you think Thursday night you can bring on Grealish and Mahrez to change the game. And we're giving an 18-year-old Hutchinson his debut. We're chucking on Conor Gallagher. It is. But at the same time, though, those
City
players
had 10 injuries.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Yeah, it is.
We'd have young. Honestly, our squad, is not as. Let me be key with this.
Yeah.
Big as people make out. Right.
I think any squad struggles with 10 injuries. You take 10
injuries. Is
10 injuries. It's mad, and it's not just 10 injuries. As I said earlier. It's 10 players that. The vast majority of them are actually starters as well.
I forgot he was injured.
Yeah.
I forgot he's injured
Well,
as
he's
well.
done for
Yeah,
the season now, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. So you look at it, and it is a problem. But I mean, I think the youngsters. I mean, do you think we're going to give you? Do you envisage what worries you most about Chelsea in this game tomorrow? I mean, is anything that kind of you think
Yeah,
City
no
need to be
fear.
aware of?
Look, you playing youngers and no fear. That's for me. The whole thing about youngsters is no fear, right? No past experiences. No, they're just going out there to, and even more so in the FA Cup, where I would imagine Potter is like, it's the FA Cup, lads. Look, just go out there and treat it. Ultimately, he can say to your young players, go out there and treat it like the third round of the FA Cup.
Well,
That is
no one
exactly.
expects us to win either. So there's almost like, whilst the pressure is on in terms of the run of results we've been on, in terms of like pressure, in terms of like extrinsic pressure, like no one's expecting us to get a result. No
No,
one's really
exactly.
expecting us to do
And that's
anything.
what I
So
mean. If you think about usually in the FA Cup, I mean, you could look at games today. I don't know.
well,
I just saw.
Newcastle lost to Sheffield Wednesday just now.
They're losing.
They lost. It's done. They're out. But I
Oh
think they
shit!
lost. I think they lost 2-0.
Hold on, that's been on while we've. It was 0-0
Yeah,
when we started.
yeah, mate. I think that game's done. I think they lost.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just look through this at a few, right?
Forest got hammered today by Blackpool 4-1. I mean, I know Forest is
Right,
struggling down the
and
bottom,
this is
but
exactly what I am saying, right? That Brighton beat Middlesbrough fucking 5-1. Okay, yeah, but ultimately in the usually 2-1. It was 2-1, right? So usually in
2-1.
the
Yeah,
FA Cup, if you imagine today, Sheffield Wednesday maybe not so bad, but
they're League One.
but yeah,
Yeah,
are they? Are they League
yeah,
One now?
they're League One now. Yeah,
Fucking hell, all right. So, but even more so, where you've seen like Boreham Wood go on runs or whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Potter can treat this like those clubs treat the third round, because you have to
Yeah.
remember some of these young players, if they were not, if it wasn't for the injuries right now, some of these young players would be playing probably for Championship or League One teams, where their manager would be saying, "Listen, boys, right? It's the third round of the FA Cup. We ain't expected to win this, but we're on TV today. You young lads, go out there, give it your all, enjoy the moment, right?" And to be fair, I feel like that's what Potter can do tomorrow. And that's what I would worry about, that we're a City team going into it with expectations that we win,
Yeah.
with form that we need to pick back up. And if we get a group of young lads that play the way you did the other day, because listen, we beat you 1-0, right? But up until the final whistle went, I was nervous. So, and that was against a group of young lads. So I'd just say, if I was Potter, I'd be picking a very similar team to how it
Yeah.
ended. And I would be saying, boys, go out there, play and work as hard as you did in midweek, right? And let's see what happens.
We got nothing to lose, and I think that's
Nothing.
again that's kind of can work in your favor as well, mate. Just literally 2 questions, and then we'll wrap this one out.
Yeah.
Couple of things from earlier. Looking ahead, but do you think you'll beat United convincingly? That derby's big now at Old Trafford, isn't it? There suddenly Ten Hag seems to be building something.
Bro,
I mean, they're playing well.
worrying.
The home form's good as well, and Rashford's in
very good,
decent form.
very
Obviously, things can change between now and then. It's still a few games' time, but I mean, how do you feel heading into that one?
Not as confident as I have previously going to Old Trafford. Listen, Old Trafford is our back garden. Like, we go there and take the piss out of them,
Yeah,
like regularly.
yeah.
But what I would say is probably similar to the first game this season. Because if you remember, going into the first game this season, Man United fans were screaming they were going to come to the Etihad and take the piss, right?
Mm.
And they got 6-3.
They held 6, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
That's all right.
Yeah. Give me 5 minutes. I'll come and get you something. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Cool. Crisps. Sorry.
No, that's all right, mate. That's all good.
Yeah. But they were expecting. I love the way she actually she does this all the time. I tell her. She'll just interrupt me. There's
it's all good.
Just runs in. But yeah, they were saying it all then. And kind of almost get in my head where it's like, yeah, do you know what? They are looking really good. And to be honest with you, I really, really rate Ten Hag as a manager.
He's doing really
when I watch
well,
his interviews, I think the way the guy can just talk about football and he knows he's happy to answer any question, the way he's handled Ronaldo, the way he handled Rashford, I think Ten Hag
discipline. He's got good discipline, and he's not afraid
he's
to
a
make
good-
ballsy decisions.
But the best thing about it is, it's not just a discipline; it's the way on both occasions. So, firstly, the Ronaldo one, he kind of sent him to train with the reserves or whatever. But the minute that week was up, he said, "No problem, you're in the starting 11." There's no issues. It's not personal, and that's what I feel with Ronaldo. When Ronaldo's come out about Ten Hag, it's like, bro, he fucking captained you.
The game after.
You walked off, Mr. Leader. You walked off when your team won a big game against Tottenham. You walked off. So when the young players are looking around for Ronaldo to celebrate, you'd fucked off down the tunnel, right? That is not a leader. The disrespect you're showing, that football club, that manager, those fans, and the players that play for your team, right? You ain't no leader, right? So you had to have some discipline. Straight afterwards, he started you the next 2 games and made you captain. If that isn't telling you this isn't personal, you just need to fix up. I don't know what is. So I really like Ten Hag, and I do think their form at home has been very good. However, I'll go back to
yourselves.
I'll go back to the fact that we are Manchester City, right? And at the moment, we are a lot better than Manchester United, right? Form at the moment, okay, no problem. But this is a derby where generally we step the fuck up and we remind them who they are. So I kind of am like, and even more so, I always say this, with where we are right now, Charlie, and where we want to end this season, right? If we can't beat Manchester United, no problem. No problem, right? We'll go again, and next season we fucking will. But at the moment, we're not in the best form, so I'm not going to be like some United fans right now thinking they're going to win the league. I'm just going to say, you know what? No. Come next Saturday at 2:30, we will see what colour Manchester is. And I think most of the country know what colour it will be.
Yeah, for sure. Mate, last thing, score prediction for tomorrow. Obviously, replays are now back in after COVID, so we don't really want a draw because it's another fixture into a packed schedule. I think, if I'm being honest, I think we lose, but I think we'll lose maybe 2 or 3-1.
3-1. I think 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah,
right.
3-1.
Guys, seems like a good place to round out. Thanks so much for getting involved in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Daps, thanks so much for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. If guys, they want to check out all your stuff, where's the best place for them to go?
Never a foul. Just so on Instagram and Twitter, it is MCFC Daps, and TikTok as well now. Yeah. But then, most importantly, Never a Foul, where we don't just cover Manchester City, we cover everything Premier League and sometimes outside of that as well. So head over to Never a Foul.
Yeah,
and,
perfect.
Appreciate you having me on.
Nah, it's a pleasure, mate. Guys, all that's linked in the description, so make sure you go and check it out. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Hopefully it's good result for the Blues tomorrow. I'll be back with a match reaction straight after the game at the Etihad, so make sure you tune in for that. But guys, until then, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and up the Chelsea.